left Honos. He had been woken up abruptly by a cry from his traveling companion, a druid named Sorwin. Sorwin was startled awake by a conversation and interaction between Morris, the rather large and brutish human you've been traveling with since your arrival in this strange island. There was a cry of alarm because of a new arrival, an individual with gaunt features and kind of thin, oily black hair, with a strange manner of speaking. Someone who implied that they knew a great deal, and they offered their services as a trader of information. The party, seeming unwilling to part with certain facts, left this individual somewhat unsatisfied. However, you saw opportunity there. You, knowing the information that this person wanted and seeing a way to achieve your goal, set about making a deal on a rather clandestine manner. And as a group of your party, or as the individuals you've been traveling with begin to head out to face off with who or whatever is called Otum, it's not really a concern of yours. You want to try and find your apprentice. And this being has seemingly offered you a way to do so. And as the two of you begin to make your way out of the swamp, you manage to pull yourselves. It takes a little bit of effort, a little bit of stepping lightly and avoiding notice, but you manage to make your way out of the lair that the lizard folk reside in. You begin making your way back inland towards, well, led by you, for you know the way, towards the Silver Spear Glades. However, you haven't revealed that. The two of you seem to have come at least far enough that you think pursuit is unlikely, enough that this individual you've come to know as Scorus feels comfortable enough to begin conversing. I must commend you, Honos.
It's so
Moving
creepy.
toward...
It's so creepy.
Moving towards your goal, unconcerned with the others, unless they can aid you. It is a commendable level of detachment.
I say nothing. I'm keeping an eye
Where...
out for lizard folk. I want to see if I can find one on the way back. A large one.
Make a perception check. Oh, I'm on the wrong window that shows the things. $17. You don't see any lizard folk that are by themselves. You do see the occasional small patrols. They're in groups of maybe 6 or 8 with an occasional pair that break off, but none that seem to be by themselves. There is a pair that has kind of detached itself from a larger group that is examining a nearby region of the swamp that you're in. They have not noticed you.
Let me think. Do I remember how difficult it was to fight these? Do I think I could take down 2?
You remember that in small amounts, they're not too difficult. The risk was always more that you would be outnumbered or detected when you were trying to avoid detection. So you imagine two would not be too difficult to bring down. It'd be a fight. They're not pushovers, but the thing is you're uncertain about the combat capabilities of your companion.
I say to Scorus, you're no good in a fight, right?
I wouldn't say that. I can defend myself, though I prefer not to have an engagement. What are you planning? You wish to fight our way out?
I need a. It's part of the greater plan. I need one of them alive to bring with us. Makes
And
getting in and out easier.
and where is it we're going?
You'll see.
Perhaps there are lizard folk that are closer to our destination, something we don't have to drag a prisoner with us. I know many paths through the forest. If I know where we are going, then I can perhaps get us there quickly and without being seen.
They're. I'm talking to you, DM.
Yeah.
They're there's still the army near the silver. What was it again?
Um, you okay, as Honos, you know that there is an army that was at it was the site of like a very old construct, and the army was kind of amassing near there, and that is closer to the glades than you are right now.
Okay. I want to head more towards that then before I try and do anything.
So you're going to head towards the war camp.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll try again there.
All right. Let me have you make a stealth check to avoid detection as you get out of this region of the swamp. Okay, so you and Scorus, the two of you, he kind of pulls his hood up over his form and kind of conceals his hair and his face behind it and begins to kind of hunker down behind foliage. And the two of you manage to make your way very deftly and very quietly out of the swamp, you leading the way. He occasionally seems to be kind of checking around and examining his circumstance or his environment very carefully. The further and further you draw him in.
Worried about anything in particular?
I'm always worried.
I don't think I have anything to say until we get to the war camp.
All right, as you are making your way towards the war camp, you manage to make your way up the. No, actually, no, because of the cliff. Is that the war camp? Is that the cliff? So you make your way through the swamp, avoiding any future encounters. You manage to press further and further into more densely forested areas outside of more of the kind of watery plains of the swamps. And there is a point in time at which the two of you kind of stop, and you believe you're getting fairly close to where the war camp should be. Make a survival check to determine your route.
I know. I know.
All right, you've been pressing forward. It's been a couple of hours now, and you're starting to think that Don't.
I'm a
Maybe your
little
memory of
off.
this area is not quite what you remember, and Scora seems to kind of move up behind you. Where is it you are taking us?
Immediately to the war camp.
The war camp. Well, that's this way. Why do you wish us to go there? I thought we were trying to remain unseen.
It's between us, it's closer to our destination, and I still need a captive.
Then perhaps we should come to clear terms now, seeing as we are unburdened of other eyes, and circumstances seem to have changed since we first met. I say this. Our agreement, our contract, should be that you agree to aid me, to the best of your abilities, in taking into possession the girl, Gondwana's thrall, whom you call Lola. And to not sabotage in any way attempts to conduct myself or my acquisition out of the confines of wherever you are keeping her, and free of any pursuit. In return, I will provide to you a rapid means of conveyance to where the quarry you seek is kept, and aid in equal measure as was provided to me in finding and acquiring into your keeping your, what did you say? Apprentices?
Not a big fan of your wording.
And in equal measure, I will not hinder or sabotage any attempt you make to conduct yourselves away. Do you find these terms agreeable?
I can get you Lola out of where she is to the point where you can take her wherever you want by your own means. Can you get me to my apprentice and get me out? And so I can get away by my own means, unhindered by you or those who are holding her.
I would not seek to hinder you. It is not in my interest to do so.
You would not seek to hinder me, but what about those who have her currently? How much
You see,
influence do you have with them?
he rears back for a moment and kind of regards you more carefully. Now that the specifics of this agreement are beginning to get hammered out.
Yeah.
So you wish for my aid in escape as well. Yes?
I wish for an equal end.
As do I. I
You
wish
have
for equal exchange.
you have what you want and are free to go and free to leave, unhindered by those holding Lola currently and myself. And I will have my apprentice, unhindered and uninterrupted by you or those holding my apprentice currently.
And there we reach an equal agreement. But now you ask me for aid in conveying you away.
Say that again?
Well, essentially, so the point he's making is that it's an equal agreement for you to help him get Lola out of where she's being kept,
Yes.
and he will help you get your apprentices out of where they're being kept. But he has not agreed to help you escape. He has agreed to not hinder you in the attempt to escape. If you will agree to not hinder him. And part of his agreement, or part of what he was stating, is that he will put in as much effort as is provided to him to achieve his end. That's the current state of the agreement. And he's asking you if you want his help in getting out of where your apprentices are being kept.
I would very much like If I can give, what guarantee do I have that you can provide to me what I'm going to provide to you?
I have as much of a guarantee of you keeping your word as you do of mine.
Yes,
I,
but if I fail, you lose nothing.
if you fail, then I do not get what I want.
If I don't help you, you don't get what you want.
You don't know that. But this is a more convenient means for both of our ends, is it not? If you wish more of me, I simply wish a little more of you. I can help you escape, potentially. There is always the risk of failure in such endeavors. But if you want my help in escaping, then I will require your aid when we arrive at our destination.
In aid in doing what?
Retrieving something. It should not be under heavy guard, and it is, in fact, not far from where I suspect to find your quarry.
This is slightly different from our original deal.
Well, yes, but the position that you're in now is slightly different.
Our original deal was I get you in, and I get you both out, and you get me in, and you get us all out.
I did not agree to get you out.
I'm looking at the message history.
I was looking at the message history too, and I don't think he agreed to get you out.
Uh,
Let's see, how will we leave? A ship, it will be here soon, 2 nights. I have no wish to fight this battle. Can I come with? You have to prove the loyalty. Blah, blah, blah. Ensure your safe travel to Cinderin. I can get you to her if we leave now.
and then I said,
You said we will leave for the village now, so he knows it's a village.
yeah,
I bring you to the girl, get you in the door, get you
will
both
know.
out. You bring me to my apprentice, get me in the door, get us out.
Yes.
Okay, so that was what the two of you had exchanged in terms of the thieves' cant, but you're now hammering out the details of what this entails.
Yes.
So that's what's happening right now,
Okay.
and that's what Scorus is trying to set in clear terms before any kind of threat to themselves seems to be part of the bargain. He seems to be looking at you expectantly, having presented
Yeah.
his offer
So
for providing you a means of escape.
the current idea, the current plan, the current deal is I get Lola to him, and then he gets me to my apprentice.
No, the current deal is you get Lola to him, and you get Lola and him out, and he will
Mm-hmm.
help you get to your apprentices.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want his help in getting out, you need to provide your help in him acquiring something from wherever your apprentices are being kept.
See then that's not an equal end. Then he gets one extra thing.
You get two things. You get to get to your apprentice, and you get to get out with your apprentice. And he gets to get to Lola, and that's
And
the
get
one
out
thing
with
that he
Lola.
gets. Well, he has to help you get to your apprentice anyway.
And I have to help him get to Lola.
Well, yes, but once Lola is out, right? Once that happens, he's gotten the thing that he wants, but he has to put himself at risk to get you to where you need to go again.
Yes, and I have to put myself at risk to get him to where he needs to be in the first place.
Right. So getting Lola and then getting to where your apprentices are kept, that's the first exchange. And now he's saying the second exchange is getting you and your apprentices out is you help him get something from where the apprentices are being kept. And those are the two parts of the agreement he's trying to present.
I'm a little lost at your separation of the 2 points.
Well, this is simply the agreement that he's trying to present to you. So if you think it's unfair, you need to present an argument to make this something that you think is fair that he will agree to.
How about I bring Lola to him and he brings my apprentices to me?
That is not a fair exchange.
Why is that?
Because if I believe where Lola is being kept is where I suspect it is, I put myself in much greater danger trying to rescue and bring to you your apprentices than you would Lola to me. In word, it sounds equal, but in deed, it is vastly different.
Damn, I thought he had more influence over whoever had my apprentices. Can I roll insight to see if he's lying about this?
I certainly roll an insight. And what are you're trying to determine what is the lie you're trying to determine?
I'm trying to determine if he if he believes this is unequal, if he believes that getting my apprentice is significantly more difficult.
Okay. Oh, natural 20. Okay. The suggestion that you would bring Lola to him and he would bring his apprentices to you seems very clearly unequal in his mind. He perceives the task of bringing your apprentices to you as something far more difficult than you getting Lola to him.
Let me think for a second. See, this is the weird part about me bringing these characters into this.
Okay.
Because they're base because they're because the boy is basically a demigod.
Well, I remember you saying that,
Yeah.
but like I don't
Yeah,
know what
but
that means.
he's the problem is he doesn't have the mental faculties to use his power properly. He just doesn't want to be
And
separated from his sister.
right, and the sister is a very capable thief, right?
The sister is a mildly capable thief.
A mildly capable thief. Okay.
The
And is there
she
anything else special about her?
she can use magic, but it's unreliable.
Okay.
Like think the sorcerer wild magic, except always wild magic.
Okay. Okay, so her powers are very chaotic.
Yeah.
All right, but that doesn't really factor into what
Yeah.
Scorus thinks. Okay, so what Scorus is acting on is
I know.
Scorus is acting
I'm
on.
trying to work with. I just wanted to tell you so you knew. Because in my head, there's like a 50-50 chance just Honos getting to them would be enough without having to get them out. Like they just might do something insane by themselves.
Okay.
But
Well, if that's the case, then Honos doesn't the Honos does not have to agree to help him get this thing if he doesn't believe that he needs help getting out. That's how it seems to me.
I'll ask Scorus then. What is this thing you want me to fetch for you?
He seems very hesitant to give up that information.
I will either be dead, or I will be looking for this thing anyway.
It is a vial mounted into a machine.
Where is it?
It is in what remains of a laboratory.
And why is it difficult to get to?
It is not that it is too difficult by itself, but another pair of eyes watching my back, ensuring that no one sees me, would be preferable. And it is a matter of where this laboratory is. It is rather difficult to reach, but I know a most expedient means, one that poses very little risk and very few people know of. It is valuable information I possess.
Let me think. We both, if we were both. Is my risk in this place the same as your risk in this place? To go to this place to get this vial.
So you're saying, like, is it equally dangerous for you to be doing what you're
Yes.
doing, for him to be doing what he's doing?
I'm trying to figure out if he's going to try and off me there before he has to fill his other part of the bargain.
If the girl is where I suspect she is, it poses far less risk to you, and even to me, if we were to be apprehended. Where I am taking you, if we are discovered, it will likely mean our deaths. But that is where your apprentices are.
Okay. I think we can work with this. I stick out my hand to shake his. I get you, Lola. I come with you to get the vial, and you get me and my apprentices away from whatever vileness has them.
You come with me to get the vial, or you aid me in getting the vial?
In getting the vial.
He seems to kind of lean back and bring a hand to his chin and ponder for a time. And you request my aid in conveying yourselves away?
Yes.
Agreed. And puts his hand out.
Shake, shake, shake.
As you shake his hand, the grip is surprisingly strong, and there is a strange shiver that kind of curls down your spine.
Yep, I saw that coming.
And he recoils. He brings his hand back, and a small smile creeps across his face. Yes, most agreeable.
People would be more likely to make deals with you who are a little less creepy.
I find that willingness is not always necessary if my position is strong enough. And there's almost a sense of like this is the first time you've seen this being happy. And they actually seem like quite pleased with themselves. They clap both hands together, and you hear a rattle that consists of many of those soft clicks that you heard in your first conversation with this person.
So what's with the clicking?
You say that to him?
Yup.
He brings his arms to his sides and kind of calms down for a moment. What clicking?
Okay. Let's move. Let's keep going.
So why are you bringing us, or why did you intend to bring us to this?
To the war camp.
Yes.
There is a barrier around the Silver Glade. Silver Spear Glade. That's what it's called.
Yes.
That can detect evil. And I need a mask for myself getting in.
Do you believe they will apprehend you?
No, but it is best to not give them more reason to doubt me.
Perhaps I can. Now that our agreement is made, perhaps I can recruit some aid. Come away from them. Their sense of smell is strong. And he kind of leads you off further away from the war camp. He spends about 10 or 15 minutes kind of finding what appears to be a relatively secluded region of the forest. Maybe only a short, like 20 or 30-minute hike from where the war camp is. And let's see, I think it was getting, you guys woke up with, you guys woke up with Scorus being there. Okay, so it should still be relatively early in the day then. You see Scorus, he takes out a piece of parchment and he scribbles something onto it with a quill that he seems to have just kind of pulls out of a pouch in his jacket. He writes this message out and then reaches into the same pouch and uncorks a small glass vial that appears to have some kind of crimson liquid in it. And he pours it along the length of the parchment in which he has written this message. And he rolls it up and then takes a torch that he had at the ready and sets alight the parchment that he has written this message on. And as the
Nifty.
As the parchment burns, you can see the flame reach the region that is saturated with this liquid, and it begins to burn off surprisingly quickly, and this thick, strong-smelling blue-colored smoke begins to peel off from the parchment in that area. And you can see traces and designs that are within the smoke that are it's disturbances within the motion of the smoke that is not due to the wind, and you don't really know what it is that might be causing this. And Scorus turns to you as you're watching him, and with a kind of smile and a gesture with his arm, she is rather cautious and will only come if called, and if it suits her. This will be unpleasant, but it is necessary. And about 10 or 15 minutes pass, and there is a large cloud that begins to pass in between the sun and the area that you're resting in temporarily. And there is a breeze, but a cold one. You can't help but kind of shiver uncomfortably in your clothing as it finds all the cracks in amongst armor and cloth. And there is a movement from plant life nearby, and emerging from out of a kind of shaded part of this small clearing you're in is this hunched over and haggard looking humanoid. Skin of blue, but is covered in boils and sores and scars. There is hair, but the hair itself is green and it looks like matted with with a kind of slime or almost like a bit of plant life that appears to be growing in the hair itself. And as the face kind of rears up, there is a large, swollen white eye. And the other eye, also equally white, but is at least of a normal shape. And this horrid kind of rasping, coughing voice comes out from this creature. You call. You have found her. And Scorus, who seems to be kind of holding himself a little bit more upright and try to present an air of control. Yes, I have recruited aid. But you buy this with pain. I will provide what it is you are looking for. But after that, I'm free of you. You can see her kind of recoil, and this look of contempt and anger flash across her face briefly, and then is replaced by, it's a calm expression, but it's a hideously ugly creature. And she peels her lips back around these black and rotted teeth. I will collect the girl when you are done. Get her outside the barrier. Be wary. There is an acolyte of the gleaming path within. She maintains the warding. Avoid her. This creature turns its gaze upon you, Honos, and that shudder that hit you before, there is instinctively another one that creeps up your spine, but you hold yourself in place and you don't display the physical disturbance just at looking at how hideous this creature is. Who is this?
This is what's getting her out.
She squints her eyes and looks at you, and then kind of opens them in a bit of almost surprise, and a small smile perks up at the corners of her mouth. Oh, yes. You. Did you help to kill my sister?
I was not there for that, no.
Oh. Disappointing. Though I will have questions for you should you return, you and the others. She moves her gaze back to Scorus. Where are the others? And Scorus replies, they either now have slain Otum, or they feed his underlings. Either way, they are not concerned right now. She looks around between the two of you. Looking at Scorus, even if you succeed, you will bear the mark of your pact with us, even if I share their fates. Though, I think you do not want me dead just yet. There is still more you... And Scorus cuts her off at this point. That is enough. What I seek to do is my business, and if I need your aid, I will beseech you, but for now, break our agreement. I do this for you, this last act as your servant. And she reaches an arm up, and you can see in her palm there is etched this kind of scarred design. It's relatively simple, but it is this series of circular marks with the occasional slash across, kind of bisecting one of the circles. And you can see this mark as she recoils. It seems to almost boil and writhe on her skin and grow more faint. It's still present, but it is more faint than it was before. She looks at him as her face recovers from the pain. You will know when it is done. And with one last look at you, she steps backwards off into the density of the foliage from which she came before, and that cloud finishes moving past the sun where it was blocking before, and there is warm sunlight that falls upon you again. It's a nice feeling, considering the rather uncomfortable encounter you just had.
You know, evil politics is always so much anger.
She is not angry, though she is vindictive. So, I can get us through the gate. Do we still require your prisoner?
No. I don't think
Good.
so.
Then that saves us time. Come. Oh, Troy, you will not be able to speak in this channel.
Savage.
It is the way this channel works.
Yep. Okay, so I need to ask the specifics, because the barrier was a detect good and evil, right?
It was a variation on that, yes.
Variation on that, yeah. So I need to ask. So whatever just happened, it's going to let me get past that without being detected, right?
Scorus answers your question. If we should enter through the main gate, if we can speak the words that will permit us access, it gives us an opening through the barrier. We will not alert anyone should we walk in the front door.
And are people gonna freak out when they see you?
I am very good with disguises. They will not recognize me for who I am. I shall assume a guise more trustworthy.
Huh.
And he pulls his hood up after finishing that comment and conceals his face from yours as the two of you begin making your way towards the village. It requires
what specifically can you disguise as?
I am capable of disguising myself in a great many ways,
Could
and
you
quite adeptly.
Could you disguise yourself as an elf child?
A child is not a form I wish to assume, but perhaps one of your companions, someone they trust.
Huh. That might work too.
Yes, I think I know the one. And you begin making your way towards the village. As I said, you had to cross this river, and as you're making your way across just a combination of fallen logs and rocks, and it's not too difficult for either of you. You're both nimble enough. However, as you make it towards the village, you can't help but notice that there is something distinctly different about the way Scorus looks now, though you can't remember when it happened. He looks more built, looks larger and physically more imposing.
Does he look? Which one does he look like?
It's hard to tell because he's still in the same clothing and armor that he was in before, but he looks like he fills out that clothing more. And whereas before it was kind of like hanging off of him a little bit, now it appears quite filled out. And you're not entirely sure, but you swear he's a little bit taller.
Because it would be more helpful if he looked like what was Game's character?
Sorwin?
Sorwin, yeah.
Do you say this?
Yes. Because he's actually a member of the town of the village of the glade.
I can. And as he speaks, the voice is different now. It's deeper, actually. The voice is distinctly different. I can probably do that, yeah.
You're gonna
But
want to act a little more high.
that's part of what I'm a little concerned about. He's pretty well known here. If you can do most of the talking, yeah, I could probably pull it off. But I don't want to arouse too much suspicion. Will you do that?
Yeah. So here's the basic plan. We need to talk to the head druid, and we're going to tell him that we came across a a small a small village outside uh, the lizard people's home that looks very similar in decor to uh, the witch's um, hut in that it's the hag's hut, not the witch's hut. The hag's hut in that it's has all the sorts of things you would expect like a hag to have, like evil cauldrons and bones and whatever. And there's several small shacks that housed what appeared to be clones of Lola. And amongst those clones were dozens of elf children who seemed to not be in their right minds.
So you mean to paint her as an imposter?
I mean to paint her as a tool of the hags, meant to gather children. I want to make her a passive a threat that is unsafe to keep inside the village.
And you believe they will hand her over to you?
No, but I believe they will remove her from the village. And then it becomes much easier to remove her from them.
Hmm. Perhaps this will work. Yes, if we can be convincing, then
I can be
perhaps.
convincing.
Well, the village is not far. I shall. And he once again kind of changes his stance, and whereas before he seemed taller, now he once again seems shorter. In fact, shorter than when you first met him, around the same height of Sorwin. And his voice gets a little higher. And okay, all right. Well, let's go.
I love your sword.
I don't know, man. I'm pulling it out of my ass.
It works.
So the two of you make your way towards the entrance to the Elven village. You are greeted at the far side of the bank of a river, and as Scorus walks up and towards the entrance to the bank, he says in Sorwin's voice, or at least the best impersonation you've heard, a startlingly good one. Iladrin.
Well, I
And does
guess I don't
Honos
need to
speak?
tell him anybody's name.
What?
I guess I don't need to tell him anybody's name.
Well, does Honos speak Elvish?
Yep.
Ah, okay. So then you do recognize the word used as a passcode. And this out of the earth spring these two thick tree trunks. They're like the largest roots you've ever seen, and they wind outwards, kind of twisting together and forming a pathway that bridges across the gap of the river. And the two of you begin to walk inwards. And walking towards the Silver Spear Glades, the rows and rows of tree trunks that are barked or marked with their distinctive silver bark and dark green foliage, and the kind of thick networks of plant life that seem to form almost walls that they're not true walls, but the density of the trunks and the foliage is enough to create the impression of walls. And yet as you get close to them, you find that you can simply weave in and amongst trees and branches, and you are within the village following set paved walkway. As you get into the town, you cannot help but notice that there is a bustle of activity.
I want to find someone, a guard or someone who knows, like, who looks like they know what's going on, and ask them what's happening.
Well, looking around, you see collections of villagers and civilians that are kind of moving around in a hurried sense. You see people with many packs and sacks kind of slung over their shoulders. People are loading up some carts, or horses are being packed to their saddlebags are nearly bursting. And there appears to be a bustle of activity. There are groups of Gladeborn that are moving in small pairs or groups of three. And so you want to try and harangue one of the Gladeborn?
I want to get any, like, just the first guard, or the first semi-important person that goes by.
Okay, you move towards one of the Gladeborn, and actually, hang on. Let me check one thing before I say that. Where is your character sheet? You can't help but notice that there is a somewhat nervous fidgeting of Scorus's hands as you begin to move towards one of the Gladeborn, but he manages to kind of just put them back to his sides and suppress the physical manifestation of his apprehension. And the Gladeborn, who appears to be talking amongst two other agents, you can overhear a bit of their conversation as you get closer. We have received word there is apparently movement from their army. Arari says that a scout of hers has informed her. They are moving. We must be ready. Anyone who is going to be evacuated must be prepared to do so within the next 20 to 30 minutes, and then they leave. After that, the walls are sealed. As you come up, he turns towards you with a look of confusion for a moment, and then turns back towards the two Gladeborn he was speaking to, and kind of nods his head dismissively, and they leave, going about their task. What are you doing here?
I'm looking for the head druid. I have urgent news from the from the lizard people camp.
What news do you have?
I would prefer to tell him personally.
You see a look of kind of exasperated, like a roll eyes kind of. He is within his barrow.
I nod and start jogging towards there.
And you head off towards the room where you believe you know that. Well, I mean, you've been here for more than once. You know roughly where the druid's barrow is. It's in a essentially the access is kind of underneath the grove where the argent oak grows, and it's kind of deep beneath that. And as you head towards the door, you can hear what sounds like an argument between the druid Diranor and a a female voice. It's angry and it's indignant, it's upset. Well, if they're going, why can't I go too? And what, am I a prisoner here? Or am I allowed to leave? If it's dangerous, I probably shouldn't stay.
I'm gonna wait until she. Does it sound. I don't know if I want Scorus and her to meet.
Well, Scorus is there with you and he hears her voice.
Yeah.
He looks towards you with a kind of sense of anticipation and then knocks on the door. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, Scorus knocks on the door.
He does.
Oh, if he's confident enough that of being in her presence, okay, sure. I mean, it'll make it all the more convincing.
And you hear Dirano's voice. Lola, this is for your safety. And if it is prudent that we evacuate you with the others, then we will.
Oh wait,
But
that was Lola speaking.
Yes, Lola was speaking to Diranor.
Oh, I thought it was Soren's gnome, the mage, whatever her name was.
I didn't know you had a cat.
Yeah, we have two cats.
What? No, it was you heard a conversation between you overheard a snippet of a conversation between Lola and Diranor. And it was, if you're referring to Arari, you do not know where Arari is.
Okay, then this is fine. This is still fine. Okay, then continue on with the knocking.
So the door opens at this point, and Honos, you and Sorwin see Diranor, who looks kind of flustered and like he's got a lot on his mind, and Lola further into the room with her kind of hands on her hips, and she not only looks angry, she looks different. Like the look on her face is not just one of being upset at not getting her way, it's one of being frustrated at everything that is around her. Like she's having a hard time taking being here anymore.
I'm going to what was the head druid's name again?
Diranor.
I'm gonna wait for Diranor to look at us, and then I'm gonna whisper into Scorse's ear, look like you're thinking for a second, then nod.
Wait, you're trying to whisper that in his ear when like the door was but the door was open like right in front of you. So I'm gonna need you to make I guess this should be a stealth check. It's not really sleight of hand.
Wait. So they're
Diranor opened the door. Like okay, so it's the two of you are standing. The two of you are standing at the door. Diranor opened the door. He is looking at the two of you, and you're gonna try and whisper something into Sorwin's ear.
Well, I'm not trying to hide whispering something in his ear. I'm trying to visibly whisper something into Scorus's ear.
Okay. All right, so Diranor opens the door. It's like the third time it's happened. And he looks concerned and then surprised to see the two of you. Sorwin, I thought you were trying to deal with the lizard folk. What brings you back here? And you whisper into his ear, and then he looks He looks around and looks like he's thinking for a moment, and then nods definitively.
We need. I try and whisper so that Lola can't hear us. We need to speak away from Lola.
He addresses Durinor and says, can we talk to you? You know, it's
No,
like
I whisper.
second.
I say to Deernor under my breath, so Lola can't
Oh,
hear.
oh. Sorry, I didn't realize you were saying that to Durinor.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, all right. So you whisper that to him, and he kind of looks back at her. And there's a look on his face for a moment, almost of like he's kind of glad to not have to be dealing with her right now. And as the door shuts, you can hear a kind of like an indignant like huff coming from Lola, but it's not like, it's surprisingly raspy and forceful. Like you think she's probably pretty mad. And Diranor kind of conducts you away from the door and out, and is kind of slowly walking around the exterior of the grove. There is lots of people bustling around, civilian soldiers, and there seems to be a general din of activity. What is it I can do?
We were separated from the rest of the group that went to attack Othum, and on the way back here, because we were forced out of the lizard people village because we couldn't fight any of the patrols. And on the way back here, we came across a village, a small village created by the hag or the hags. In it was a collection of girls who looked exactly like Lola. And amongst those girls were dozens and dozens of elf children who seemed to be somehow controlled to be there.
Make a deception check.
And I put my hand on Scorus's shoulder, and I want him to affirm this.
He kind of looks at you and picks up on the hint. Yeah, it was. It was like they look like Peleus's his kids, and like a few other. Like I've seen them around, and you have me look after them every so often. There was a bunch of them.
I cut him off. I say, "I'm sorry. He himself felt the pull from the girls. Just moments ago, I asked him if he felt it again in this room, and he does.
Yeah, it's crazy. So make your deception check with advantage because of Scoros's aid.
Whew. Oh.
What was it that you rolled for that? You rolled a 17.
I rolled 17.
I rolled a 16.
Oh.
You see Diranor, he kind of listens, and like you see his focus kind of moving back between the two of you.
That was the roll. That was the one roll that meant everything.
It was a pretty important roll. It was what you could call a critical roll. All right. Roll on snare drum. Okay. So you see Diranor is considering this. Like, so you think she's an imposter, or?
I think she's a tool of the hags. She might be. I do not know enough about magic to know exactly what she is, but I do know she is dangerous to elves. And I would suggest you get her as far away from here as possible.
I felt uncomfortable in her presence, but only because I know of her nature. I've not felt much of that myself. Are you certain of this?
I look to Soren.
Soren nods emphatically, and it seems to be enough to to slowly win over Diranor. So we should secure her then, or remove her from the village. Perhaps I should contact Veki. Although
I hear that you are closing off the village in minutes. We need to get her out as soon as possible.
Yes, she should be evacuated with the others. Perhaps shortly after they go, so she is not kept too closely to them.
Yes. We can take her on our way out.
You see that he kind of looks at you with... There is a level of suspicion that slowly kind of creeps into his gaze. Make a persuasion check. And Sorwin kind of picking up on this. I can make sure that she's looked after. You can trust me. And so that persuasion check is with advantage.
Thank God. Thank God.
He gives a long, hard look at you, Honos, then turns to Sorwin, and there seems to be a kind of easing of the features in his face.
I do not wish to be any closer to her than I have to. But it appears that she has she has a very, very significant effect among to elves and not to me. Not to me.
Sorwin, you must be careful. Very well. She'll go with you, but I'll have some of the Gladeborn accompany you.
Of course.
Very well, let's get her. And so the three of you kind of make your way back towards the barrow that you initially encountered the two of them. And when you get in there, Lola is standing there with her hands on her hips and just looking impatient. So, what's happening? And Diranor speaks up first. Lola, Sorwin and Honos, they're going to take you away. You're right, it is not safe for you to be here. And we want you to be safe. We care about you. So in not too long, we're going to have these two and some of the Gladeborn take you away from here. Somewhere safe. And at this point, Lola, as the idea of what's going to happen slowly gets explained to her, she gets more and more excited, and then she gets to the point of hearing about the Gladeborn, and you can see this kind of like scour come across her face. I don't like them. They look at me like I'm...
They won't get too close. Don't worry.
I don't want them there. And Diranor, he steps forward and he tries to kind of console her. Like, it's for your protection, for your safety. We do not want anything to happen to you. And Lola, in this burst of anger and aggression, she's like, I don't want them there! And Diranor, he kind of reaches to put his hands on top of her and try and calm her down. It's like, now Lola. And as he reaches forward to put her hands on, she reaches both her hands up and against his abdomen and his stomach. And you can see him freeze in place. And there's this look on her face of... It's a combination of like anger and frustration, but almost a sense of relief and a sense of finally being able to have some influence of her own on what's going on. And as Diranor freezes with this kind of... you can see that where she pulls her fingers back, along each finger is nearly 2 inches of thick, dark, stained crimson elongations of her fingers. And they're now more than triple the length they were before, and they seem sharp, and they seem hardened, they seem very much like something you encountered when you went to break into that hut
Well,
in the
I didn't
swamp.
break into it.
So yeah, you showed. So Honos showed up after Pedwin, right?
Yeah.
Or after the fight with. Okay, so
Yeah.
Honos, this is a new experience to
Yeah.
you. You're seeing these protrusions from her fingers, and as she pulls them back, Diranor, whose hands are still on her shoulders, just has this combination of expressions on his face of confusion and betrayal and pain and worry, and he just kind of and falls over and lands on his side, and you can see him like his eyes are kind of wide and he's going pale, and he appears to be going into some kind of shock. And as yeah,
Does Lola seem like she's going to kill anybody else in the room?
no, Lola having kind of pulled her hands back and like looking at her hands with this kind of sense of wonderment and just staring at the blood as it drips off of her fingertip. And then she looks.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
grab a sheet and throw it at Lola and say, "Wrap this around yourself."
She grabs the sheet, and the amongst the only sheets there are some light and dark ones, and you grab one of the lighter ones and toss it to her, and as she brings it around her, immediately the blood from her fingers soaks into it and stains it red. So you toss her a dark sheet. She kind of finishes like actually wiping off her hands, which almost seem to retract a little bit and take the form of normal fingers, though a little more elongated than you recognized when you first saw her. And she pulls this darkened blanket over her shoulders and pulls a portion up over covering her head. And Skoros, who's actually watching this, and he's watching the whole thing with a smile on his face.
Fucking
And
kids, man.
as she comes closer, he kind of leans down. He's like, "You did very good, Lola. Or what shall I call you? You are not that girl anymore, are you?" And she looks up at him, and there's this, "No, I'm."
That's all well and good. I'm gonna look at Scorus and I say, "Can you look like him?" And I point at Diranor.
She looks for a moment. She kind of loses that sense of confidence, and she looks around. Auntie said I could go without being seen when I
That works
understand
too.
more, but I can't do that now.
That does not work. Can you look like him? I point at Scorus.
You see her focus for a moment, and her skin and
No,
hair kind of shift.
not Lola. I don't want Lola to look like.
Oh, you want Skoros to look like
Diranor. Diranor.
He turns to you. Are you sure that's wise? Do they not think it will be strange that Diranor is trying to leave this village?
You're going to tell me to leave in front of somebody who will not stop. Somebody who might stop me. Actually, no. Let me think. Let me think real quick. Wait, what was
Yeah,
what was
he comes
Lola
back to you with like, that seems
Yeah.
like I'm drawing unnecessary attention.
Yeah.
We want this to be unnoticed. She's small. Perhaps she could be mistaken as one of the children they are being rid of.
Yeah. Let's just go with that then.
Good. And you hear a voice from behind you. You hear the girl's voice. Yersinia. And the two of you stop and kind of look back at her. That is my name. And she stands and strides in between the two of you, leaving the room first, having pulled up this blanket up and over her head, kind of concealing what she looks like underneath it.
I'm gonna follow. I'm gonna try and follow, and then get alongside her.
All right, so you're leaving the room as it.
We're leaving the room. Close the door.
All right, you close the door and leave the room as it is with its kind of lamp flowers and bioluminescence, and the prone, or not prone, but the collapsed form of Diranor just lying in the middle of it. And the three of you head outwards, and you begin to see that there is a crowd of individuals that are gathering outside the glades. I actually meant to move you over to the glades for like this whole discussion, whole talk about stuff. And I don't need that. What I do need is this, one of those. Okay, you are there. Boo doo 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 doo. And the girl is there. Okay. All right, so the three of you, the kind of either of you flanking Lola on one side, and she reaches up and clasps your hand with her hand, Honos.
Oh
And her
god.
skin is cold, it is clammy, and you can't help but envision the sight of those fingers as they were being pulled out of the abdomen of Diranor, and it is an uncomfortable sensation. And even with all the things you've seen, the things you've done, it is unsettling to be holding hands with this seemingly very innocent girl.
Yeah, not no more.
And
Let's continue our jog.
so the group of you manage to just kind of pull yourselves up behind a large cluster of individuals that appear to be all getting ready to evacuate. And you can see once again the bridge, the root bridge that retracted behind you when you entered the village, is extended once more, and this cluster of individuals begins to file out of the village. And Scorus leans down and says to you, "Our means of conveyance lies within the village. We get Lola outside the barrier, and then we must come back in here. Shall I go with you?"
Yes.
All right.
I don't especially want to be alone with you know, kind of wiggle my fingers.
He nods with understanding. Yes. Well, let us not draw any attention then, shall we? And as you all begin to kind of follow up behind the group, there are Gladeborn agents that are kind of keeping watch of everybody as they're leaving, and you see them look at you, but you don't arouse any particular kind of suspicion. They do eye momentarily the small child at your side, but then they look at Sorwin and kind of just nod, and recognizing a face, they seem to be less concerned about what's going on. And as the group of you kind of make your way out, you, along with a lot of these civilians, these families and individuals, being escorted by some of the Gladeborn, as they begin to walk down some of the pathways out of the forest, the three of you begin to hang back a little bit. And Scorus then kind of stops and pulls you all to the side and into some of the trees. "Now then, Yersinia, your auntie is waiting for you. Just stay somewhere out of sight. She'll come for you soon. Do you understand? Can you do that?" And she, looking like a normal girl, just nods her head, and there is a smile on her face, and you can once again see the poorly kept teeth, and she is cleaner now than she was before. Because when you found her, she was just dirty and covered in filth in some places. And now, though she has been washed and clean, somehow indications of that dirt seem to return, more so than they were the last time you saw her. And she seems sullied or soiled somehow. Difficult to put into words. And Scorus kind of pulls you back towards the village. Be a good girl now. And the two of you head back towards the entrance to the Silver Spear Glades. Okay, pausing momentarily.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I want to get some water in me and stuff. You need to use the bathroom, use the bathroom. Let's see, where am I in my text document here?